Hello, Oracles. Well, this week we've got the FOMC meeting. We're going to be getting from Jerome Powell what they are going to be doing for rate cuts. The market is currently pricing in just over 60% chance of a 50 basis point cut. Meanwhile, we have other people out there thinking we're going to get a 25 basis point cut. Getting some news coming in recently, we have some US senators that are sending letters to the Fed asking them to do a 75 basis point cut. Historically, 75 is a lot. When you get a 75 basis point cut, that's kind of a little shock to the market, like, hey, something's going on here. So I don't think we're going to get a 75 basis point cut at all. But we've been talking about jobs and the jobs data that's out there right now. And we are getting more and more information about the jobs market being a concern. So in August, we get the highest number of job cuts since 2009. And we also have Amazon telling their employees that they need to return to their 5-day work week in the office. Now, that one may not sound like it's a concern, but there's a lot of people out there who have been comfortable working from home. That was one of the perks that they had, was not having to go into the office. We saw that happen during COVID, and a lot of people who were told to come back to the office just quit their job entirely. So this is one of those ways that larger corporations not having to fire people will just say, hey, come back to the office. People are going to say, I don't want to go back to the office. I quit my job. So we won't see that as job terminations or any sort of layoffs. We're just going to see people quitting their jobs and leaving those positions open. And then those companies like Amazon just not filling those positions. So that is kind of one of those little side indicators that we really don't have a lot of data that goes by. So we have people just saying, you know what? I'm going to stay at home. Don't need to work. I'll figure out something on my own or whatever. I'll get through this. And then those jobs don't get filled. So those jobs don't get posted. Jobs don't get filled. And there's just people out of the workforce entirely because of situations like this. So that's one of the concerns that I have as well, is just less people in the workforce. Now, it's awesome if those people who don't go back to work, hey, they have enough money coming in. They don't have to worry about finances. That's awesome. If they did a good job with their wealth like that, good for them. But there's a lot of people who aren't going to be in that situation who are going to go out and try to find jobs. And you guys can let me know in the comments below if any of you have done some job searching over the last 8 months. But from a lot of friends that I've been talking to, they've been searching for jobs and it's a dead market out there. There is nothing available. And now, of course, it's going to go, sector to sector. It's also going to depend on what kind of job you're in. But I've also been hearing, I work in construction retail, from a lot of our construction guys out there that they've been pretty slow. The month of August is typically a slower month anyway, but it's been slower than normal, a normal August. There hasn't been a lot out there. I've also heard from some guys talking about how the infrastructure money that's been coming in from the government, clearly, at least in the state of Connecticut, has been put to use because every road is freaking under construction, which again, I'm okay with that because at least I see my tax dollars going to work on the things that they say that they're going to be putting them towards. But I've also heard from a lot of our contractors that the faucet is shut off. There is no more money coming at all. And it's not like hey, this is shut off just because of the election coming up and we're going to wait to see what happens after the election. Once the next administration takes over, then we're going to start pushing the money out again. I've heard it's just gone entirely. So again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just from me talking to contractors that I'm dealing with at work. Maybe you guys have some more information yourselves that you want to share. But again, the market out there for labor and the work that's out there seems to be drying up. So historically, when we've seen things like this, a lot of companies and corporations do this in anticipation of a potential recession, which in itself turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy and leads to that said recession. So again, I still am hopeful that we are going to get a soft landing and we don't get into a recession, but we have a lot of people out there in fear mode right now. Now, one of those scenarios that we talk about with Warren Buffett is be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. Well, this fear that we're having about a recession hasn't translated to the market itself. So there's a lot of fear about a recession coming, but the market has not priced any of that in. I can't say any. I'm sure the market is priced in a little bit of a recession, but there's no real talks about it, at least not now. We had some talks at the beginning of the year, but we haven't had anything recently. We still have people out there thinking that we're going to get this soft landing. The majority of the market is pricing that in. And again, the market is only pricing in 60% chance of a 50 basis point cut this Wednesday. So if we only get a 25 basis point cut, that's going to send the market down significantly because they haven't priced that in. Now, they may think that, hey, the Fed thinks that the market is and the economy are doing well, so we can go ahead and say that that's a good signal. But all of these jobs reports and notifications and things that we've got coming in kind of leading us in the other direction. Senators wanting a 75 basis point cut tells me that there's a concern about a jobs market that's going on out there. So we'll see how the Fed works it out. Chances are we're probably at this point, maybe we will just get that 50 basis point cut, but is that going to be enough? And again, we still have a lot of uncertainty between now and the election anyway. So I think it's going to be a moot point anyway, as far as what we get for a cut. It'll be a reaction one way or the other. It might be a reaction in both ways. Who knows? Maybe we move one way and then all of a sudden Powell starts talking and we move the other way significantly. Then maybe on Thursday, we all of a sudden get a reversal. Anything can happen. So what I'm looking at right now is, again, just looking at the next 6 weeks as a long-term potential buying opportunity to bite a little bit here and there and just kind of follow the data and see what's going on, because we're still going to be getting jobs and CPI reports over the next 6 weeks as well, going into the FOMC meeting in November, which comes the day after the election. So we have a lot of time between now and then, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of time to just kind of dip your toes in the water and feel it out, see what's going to happen as far as, is the Fed going to pull this off and give us a soft landing, or is unemployment going to get worse, get to a point where it's sort of out of control and we are going to go into a recession, forcing the Fed to cut rates a lot faster than expected, and then putting us back down to similar places where we were back in the financial crisis back in 2008. Again, I don't know if it's going to be that bad. We have some indicators and some people thinking that it's going to be worse than that. Then we have other people who think that we are going to get the soft landing. Again, such a wide spectrum of possibilities that we have out there. I'm just following my plan because even historically, even going back to the Great Depression, historically, we have always gotten through this. So again, these are times to just be prepared for a lot of possible negative situations that are going on. Be ready to take advantage of opportunities if you are surviving through very difficult economic times. And then as we come out on the other side, it'll give you that opportunity to flourish more than others. So now is the time to prepare. We have the signals. And again, worst case scenario by preparing is that we don't get a recession and we get a soft landing. Then you just happen to have extra cash on the sidelines that you can deploy. And maybe it's not at rock bottom prices, but whatever, you're still buying in a market that is healthy and an economy that's healthy to move forward after that. So again, the downside of preparing for the worst and having cash on the sidelines is significantly better than not preparing and actually getting the worst. And then you get buried entirely and then your portfolio gets wiped out completely and you have to sell when the market is down in order to pay your bills. Now, normally I don't give financial advice on this. None of what I give you guys is financial advice, but it's a little bit of financial wisdom right there. Just be cautious, please. I implore you to be cautious in a manner like this, because a lot of times people get caught out and don't end up making it through times like this, and it's very difficult. So I encourage you guys to just be very careful and just do what's best for your own portfolio and just take into consideration a very worst case scenario to be ready for that. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Just a short one. I have some potential tenants coming tonight to look at my house to be renting the room out. Again, this is my setting myself up for a worst case scenario and helping others in a situation where, hey, I want to make sure I'm taking care of this. I have a very long-term plan with an Oracle opportunity thing that I'm working on. I'll disclose a little bit more about that later. I don't want to share the entire plan, but it's sort of a situation where I want to help people who are in situations where I was at financially and just kind of needed that helping hand. And it's something I had mentioned the other day about I'm never going to be a crutch for anyone, but I will match someone's effort. So if people are in a tough situation and they're trying to help themselves as much as possible to get out of debt and build their wealth, I will be there for them. And if I can provide a place to live along with knowledge with that while they're living here, I will absolutely do that. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing. And again, that plan expands significantly more, and I'll share that later. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.